name is Tom Vasel. Welcome to Week in Review. This is a video in which we take you and look at all the different videos that we have recorded over the last week, the reviews, give you quick snippets of them. You can find links in the description if you want to see more about them. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, Z Garcia here. Last week we put out a new board game blender about golden oldies, so if you want to hear about games that are still good but a little bit older, go check that out. I reviewed 4 games as well. Here we go. I reviewed Grimslinger's Duels, which is a rock, paper, scissors game, which is really just an advertisement for this other game, so pretty much skip that. I also reviewed Grimslingers, the full game, which is still a rock, paper, scissors game with a lot going on top of that. And unfortunately, it just is basically a lot of rules and a lot of what if I do this instead of that, and a lot of complication on top of rock, paper, scissors. Amazing world building and artwork. Not a particularly compelling game in my opinion. I also reviewed Fruit Spy, a real light Reiner Knizia card game in which you are playing cards face down, collecting tokens, trying to have the most tokens at the end of the game. It's real light. I would recommend it for kids. I would recommend it if you are playing with the kids and the grown-ups together. And as a filler, it works. It's an okay game. And lastly, I reviewed Brutal Kingdom, a really neat game about backstabbing and sort of coming up with combos, which is a micro game as well, just 20 cards, and it really works well. It's gonna seem like just a random take that game at first, but the more you play it, the more you start seeing things you can do in order to be tricky. Really grew on me, really enjoy it. So that's it for me. I'll see you next time.
Hey folks, welcome back to another Week in Review. This week I reviewed Zero, which is a very quick card game by Reiner Knizia. Very light, but I think it would be a good gateway type game for people who like Rummy and all of the different kinds of card games that you can play with a deck of playing cards, that kind of stuff, Rook, maybe even. Get them into the hobby. I think that would be a cool thing. So check out that, Zero, from Blue Orange Games by Reiner Knizia. Also did one called Vikingdoms from Mind Fitness Games. And this one is a abstract strategy game where you're also trying to conquer some lands and stuff like that, but the abstract strategy is at the core of the game. Really neat 2-player game. I liked it a lot, so go check that out. And then also this week, I did a top 10 card drafting games where I listed all of the different card drafting games that I really enjoy, going through all of the different mechanisms, game mechanisms that were on my top 10 game mechanisms list. So this was number 3, I believe, card drafting. So check that out. Then Rob and I also started our Guild Ball Battling Brushes series this week. He did some basing techniques. And then I started painting the guild with Denver Broncos colors of all thing. And Rob's going to be painting Pittsburgh Steelers colors on his team. So you can go check those out. They're pretty good for getting new ideas on how to paint, that type of stuff. And then I also did a Q&A back on Friday. So that was a fun time. Go check that out if you want to as well. See you on the flip side.
Hey, what's up, Dice Tower? Welcome to This Week in Review with Brian Drake and the latest retro. I'm on location again, somewhere in Texas, at a camp somewhere. Anyway, took a look at 2 games this week. Number 1, Captain Sonar. Incredible game by Matago. 8-person, you've got to try this. It's always best at 8-person. Check out the review right here. Really, really fun game. Such a good game. That's all I can really say about it. It's just fun. Secondly, took a look at Fields of Arla, or Arl, not really sure on that. Whichever one you want to call it's fine. But it's a good worker placement farming simulation by Uwe Rosenberg. Really had a blast with this one and looking forward to diving even further into it. So that's what I took a look at on This Week in Review.
First we have Connexio. Connexio is one of those, this is not a game, and we're just finding connections between things. Well, that's awful. The rest of it is an okay game, right, where you have 2 connections and you write down the connections on paper not included with the game, and then read them aloud, and then people vote on which connection they like the best. It just really fell with a dud, this one. Fidgets. This is from Think Fun. This is kind of a thing that you get to fidget with and mess with and make it so it's all blue on one side or all white on the other side. It's an interesting device, right, like Rubik's Cube, but it's way too easy, and I don't really know how I solve it. I've solved it several times, and I'm not really sure what I've done. It's okay. Outlawed. This is a game in which players are trying to get rid of all the cards in their hand, and you play a card each turn, you say what the card is, then you flip them. And then some people were lying about their cards, and depending on how people lied, who didn't lie, what cards were played, you get to get rid of some of the cards, or you put it back in your hand to try to get rid of it another time. Messed up by some weird point systems and some bad font choices, but other than that, it's pretty fun. Then Lightning Dice. This is another one where the production's not that great, but it's just silly, roll dice as quickly as you can. It's like playing Yahtzee speed style. So that's, if you like that, if you think you'll like that, you'll like the game. If not, probably move on. Piranha is another speed game where you're trying to get rid of cards, where you're matching a card on the table. It has 3 fish. You need to make sure the card that you're putting on top of it is the same color as one of those fish, but larger. And you just keep doing this, and every once in a while you play Piranha cards, which are more easy to play, and you can try to get rid of all your cards. Think of Dutch Blitz with fish. Ninja Taizen, this is a 2-player game from Yellow. This is in the same realm as games like Shot and Tot and things like that, back and forth, but it's a big game of rock, paper, scissors, essentially, where you're trying to take out your opponent's ninjas with dice, but it still works out really well for me. Rocky Road a la mode. This is a little ice cream truck game in which you get a certain number of actions, and whoever's in last gets to take actions, and they might get to take several in a row, which I like, using cards for multiple things. This takes a lot of cool aspects of really big games and puts them in a smaller box and does it well, plus ice cream. The Captain is Dead. This is a cooperative game in which the captain has died. The rest of you are people on a starship that's getting attacked and going to blow up. You need to warp out of there. There's a lot of different things you can do. There's a lot of roles you can be, from admiral down to ensign. All sorts of fun hijinks occur. You'll probably die, but maybe not. You'll escape. Ascension, Gift of the Elements. This is the 11th expansion for Ascension. Doesn't rock the world, but it adds a lot of really solid, good cards to it. Has events which can be transformed into huge things. Has a lot of cards that let you thin your deck, trash cards and get rid of them. Just a lot of nice, cool mechanisms in this one. Dr. Microbe. This is a new game from Blue and Orange Games, and this is in their series of dexterity / think about the game at the same time that they did with Dr. Eureka. This one is just as good as Dr. Eureka. Lots of fun as you try to use tweezers to pick microbes and put them in the right dishes. Also, in that same line from the same company is Go-Go Gelato. This one's about ice cream, where you're taking ice cream cones and have a ball, and you're moving those and trying to get them in the right position as fast as you can. Both games are tons of fun. Both games are going home and becoming part of my collection for me to play with my kids. I like them a lot. And that, folks, is the week in review. We put out lots of other videos besides reviews last week that you can check out. Top 10 lists of Final Fantasy games, CMON games, Real Grande games, just a lot of stuff. Go check all that out on our channel. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Week in Review.